All right. Today is going to be a anniversary update on Black Sci-Fi and on the anniversary of Black Panther's release. So it was released February 2018, and before and after, it was tremors, and then a big Black Panther quake within the midst of Black sci-fi and the world of sci-fi in general. And I just want to give like a little commentary of things that I've seen since Black Panther. This is sort of a response to a question that I just kind of feel was a really good question, and I'm going to answer it probably every year. I think it's a really cool annual question, just as a kind of a marker, because Black Panther was that impactful that it changed the world for Black sci-fi, and we're still feeling the effects. So not to really focus on Black Panther so much, but to really just highlight some of the things that Black Panther even mentioned, or just was the happenings with Black Panther itself. It broke all records last summer. It made $1 billion. Became probably the second highest paid or the highest grossing picture in in the history of film, right? Under Gone with the Wind. It's battling Infinity Wars. It's supposedly Aquaman caught up to it. It's just such a big benchmark that other pictures now are trying to reach it. And it reminds me of when Black Panther came out. It actually had 100% tomato reading, and that was like the second picture that did it. I'm not going to give Black Panther the credit for hitting the tomato readings hard, but because Get Out was the first one that I remember that had such a high tomato reading that it attracted people to just say, I'm not giving it 100 just because. And that's when it lost its tomato reading. With Black Panther, it did have the same thing, and there were people that were doing that, but it wasn't the second film to have that happen to it. It was a lot of films that after Get Out, not a lot, just maybe a few that had gotten really high tomato readings, and you have some haters out there that just want to go against the grain just because, just to provide a difference. Nothing can be perfect. Nothing can be great like 100% tomato reading is perfect, right? So that's one thing with Black Panther. Then it also got announced that it was going to have a sequel. It was like, oh snap, because it really fit into, as much as it was a one shot, it was an episode within the Infinity Wars, the Avengers storyline. It wasn't necessarily a backstory that prequeled or predated the Infinity Wars. It was a continuation, and it fit in to the Infinity War story. When they did Doctor Strange, there really wasn't as much tie-in to Infinity War storyline as it was with Black Panther. Even with Homecoming, Spider-Man, yes, it was cool that they introduced Iron Man to Spider-Man in the movie, but in terms of it being a real puzzle piece, you don't really need to see Spider-Man to understand how he fits into the Infinity Wars. Same thing with Ant-Man. Ant-Man, had two pictures, right? And even his Ant-Man sequel, which supposedly explain where he was during the Infinity Wars came out after the Infinity Wars. So, those are interesting things, but like with Black Panther, it really fit in. So for it to get a sequel, now we're like, what is it going to be? Is it going to be, how are they going to do it? Is it going to follow that story? Is it going to be a prequel? Is this going to be something that's not canon? Of course, we all, concerned about Killmonger because he was such a great villain that we'd hate to see him go away. And they say that Michael B. Jordan is still going to be in it, but we don't know whether he's going to be in the ancestral realm or if he's going to be in the actual picture himself. So then the last big thing for Black Panther, after being nominated being announced is going to get a sequel, which everybody was really excited about. It got nominated for Best Picture. It's got nominated for all of these awards, and rightfully so. Even the soundtrack, the costume designers won already. So those things are like tremendous. And for it to be a science fiction picture, for it to be a superhero picture, it really changes. And for it to be a black picture, it really changes things. So there's some really good things that came. Now that's all. That's 6 minutes I've been talking about Black Panther. And I'm excited about Black Panther. Don't get me wrong. If you haven't seen it, which there probably are people that still to this date haven't seen it, because some people don't go to the theaters, don't get DVDs, they don't necessarily have cable, they don't fly on airplanes, they haven't gone with a church group or a youth group, or going to a free event in a park, and they haven't seen it yet, and they may not see it until it comes on TV. And I don't think it's come on free TV yet. It may when the sequel, right before the sequel comes out, but it's hit like everything else. However, there's still some I'll say cheapos, but there's some low-budget people who just don't see movies really until they come out. This Black Panther is a free DVD in the library. You can get it from the library, okay? Even though you got to wait for it, you don't have to stand there at the library to wait for it. You just put your name on the list and they call you when the movie is ready, available. At least that's how my library does it. So anyway, that's my Black Panther stuff, right? So now, outside of Black Panther, somebody asked me on Facebook, how is it selling black sci-fi? I'm doing a big urban writer event this weekend, and it's nothing. I'm probably gonna be the only science fiction writer there. You can't share tables. It's none of that. And all these urban writers, they got girl stories, loose girls running into drug dealers stories, a whole bunch of interesting stories. Donald Goins, Sister Soldier inspired, Iceberg Slim inspired stories, hard life stories, okay? And I'm coming in there with a story that's extreme fiction, made up planets, post-apocalyptic Earth, ghosts, stuff that you can't believe, vampires, flying gargoyles, what else I got? Zombies, you know what I'm saying? I'm stepping up in there like that, with the mad unbelievable to the people in the hood, right? Even though they all love Black Panther. So we don't have any of that. My world is, I'm a different writer. I'm from, it's not streets, ain't no way I'm from the streets. But I do like street-ish, street-light stuff, right? I'm not a person who doesn't mind cursing. I'm not a person, I like Boys in the Hood. I like, my son just watched Training Day yesterday. I like Training Day. You understand? I'm not a Disney person. I don't need Lifetime. I don't read just romance novels. Some of my favorite authors are Iceberg Slim, Donald Goins, and of course I like Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Soldier. Hold on a second. I love all of those writers, right? And I met some cool people, Quan, Wahida Clark, Omar Tyree, who else? Treasure Blue, my new buddy, right? But I don't write urban fiction. My first book was urban fiction, Gold Digger Killer, and I'm even trying to pull that into some type of paranormal sequel or series, because the urban fiction stuff, I don't like none of the characters in real life. You know what I'm saying? So if you're a drug dealer, I don't really like that aspect of you. I don't want to hear it. And then for the girls that like drug dealers, oh, you ain't got no love for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a drug dealer and you choosing him. So I never really found a way to find myself in the story, because even the police are crooked in many of those stories. And I don't like the police even to make them a damn hero. So I opt out of all of that urban fiction stuff. So for me, I'm stepping into that. So that somebody asked me about that question. And I said, you know what, let me do a blog, because before Black Panther, selling black sci-fi was selling something that you actually had to describe. I had to say it's like Black Star Wars. It's like, Walking Dead. It was very hard to explain, because many of those stories are already multicultural, right? Ghost stories, it's really hard to express. It was at the time. Now, since Black Panther, I say it's like Black Panther. I don't even have to say it anymore. I used to say it's like Luke Cage, Luke Cage season 2 with KRS-One and Rakim. That's me, But that's not even all of black sci-fi. That's just me as a black sci-fi writer. My titles are Gold Digger Killer. Well, that's not sci-fi. Thug Angel, Rashida the Zombie Killer, Welcome to Boss Lady's Planet. These are my titles, right? And even with those, I have been assumed to be so urban that, the conscious community that is loving, Princess Africa, type stories are like, why, I can't have you come to my convention and sell a book called Thug Angel. That's just anti. If it was Brother from Kemet, you know what I'm saying, then I would have no problem. Even though Thug Angel is a brother from Kemet, they just can't get past the title. And for me, I write stories with teeth. Not to say Brother from Kemet doesn't have teeth, but I don't want preachy stories. You understand? I want a story where, if the brother is from Kemet, he still has other names. He's a hero that I would see on the street. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't be some outfitted in kente cloth person, but he would possess all of the values of somebody that was draped in kente cloth or Egyptian, because kente is Egyptian or Kemetic. But I'm just saying, and a lot of people do. They be having Egyptian gods in kente cloth, and it's funny. Well, I've seen that. It's funny. But it's cool in a way, But, so I don't write that. You know what I'm saying? My Welcomes to Boss Lady's Planet was actually another title that wasn't even the pen title. It was originally called Planetronics. And that sounds cool. It actually sounds hip. I like it, but I like Boss Lady's Planet better. What do you call it? I just felt, Boss Lady, my pitch to the people is, in urban fiction, Boss Lady gets a nail salon or a strip club. And I gave my Boss Lady a whole planet. You know what I'm saying? And that's my thing. So for me, in the post-Black Panther era, it has allowed me to speak on different angles of my stories and talk about them. And when I'm pitching them, I can now get more layered in my pitches or my explanations. I get deeper. Whereas before, I was just very shallow. I had to spend time telling them what black science fiction was, and I don't. Now, that's me. My other comment is just in the world of black sci-fi. We have N.K. Jemisin with her series, The Jade Obelisk, in the 5th season. We have a Marlon Oh God, with the lone wolf, the red sparrow. I'm jacking up that title. It's on my phone, so I can't see it here. We have Tomei, Children of Blood and Bone. Who else? Before that, we had, oh my God, with Binti. Can't remember her name. She's actually writing the Suri comic book series. Her name escapes me. But so the literary world has really tried to diversify itself. However, there's something that I see different in the black books, that the black sci-fi books, and what I see in the movies, right? In the movies, we see in Black Panther, he got Michael B. Jordan, he got street cred, right? We saw Slight, which is damn near drug dealer revenge science fiction story. We had Ken, which Michael B. Jordan did, came out last year, and it was a kid ran into a girl in a strip club, paid by Lisa Bonet's daughter, who was a stripper, right? And we see these wayward stories in the film. And Luke Cage, practically drug dealer story with Luke Cage fighting off drug dealers. Very urban, very teethish, very male, if you want to say that, right? But then we have literary, we've got Binti, indigenous Africans, Aboriginal Africans, don't know what exact tribe they're from. They're barefoot practically getting into a spaceship. And I'm not going to tell the whole story, but that's the beginning of the series, right? That's how it is. It is what it is. Then we have Fifth Element, which is a beautiful concept story of nature almost responding in a Thanos sort of way to fighting back the pollution, but it's a fantasy. It's a Lord of the Rings type of story. And that's all beautiful. That's one, right? There's no drug dealers in that. There's no street cred in that, right? There's no Killmonger. Then we have Marlin's story, the Red Lone Wolf, Red Sparrow, which I know I'm jacking up. Don't kill me, because it just came out like 2 weeks ago, and I haven't bought it yet, so I'll be spending one of my little Barnes & Noble's gift cards on it. But, all right, so you have that. And his book is billed as a black Game of Thrones. It ain't even trying to, deny that it is a black Game of Thrones. So that's a fantasy in a mystical kingdom. My opinion of Game of Thrones was don't even put no black people in it, because the world and the people are so horrible that when you watch it, you don't mind anybody getting killed. Maybe the girl with the dragons, now you're rooting for her, but she's on some revenge tip too. So she's killing people, and everybody, there's not one redeeming person in there. All right, that's Game of Thrones. And then what's the other one that I said? We also had Cassia, which was David Anthony Durham, a cousin of mine, who wrote fantasy, who was first opted by George R.R. Martin. This is going to be a long blog. I'm going to wrap it up soon. Sorry, I'm 3 minutes over. Anyway, he's an African fantasy. And then you have the last one I'm going to mention, Children of Blood and Bone. I just finished reading that about last week, right? That's a African set Avatar The Last Airbender type story. Ain't no thugs in there. Ain't no streets. It's woods, right? So what I'm saying is, do you see a difference, right? Luke Cage crashed the internet. Superhero fighting drug dealers in Harlem. Black Panther made all records with a hip-hop soundtrack. Michael B. Jordan, street cred, almost getting ready to go spook who sat by the door on the world, right? Bringing power back to, threatening to take over the world, right? That was his level of villainry. And then we get all these, but in literature, we get all these other ones. Not to mention, I personally feel that I'm going to look into it. I don't know, but I see a difference between the independent sci-fi, black sci-fi that is being written and bought, because we're not making no money. Shout out to some of the brothers. Milton Davis announced he sold $7,000 worth of books in a few years. So shout out to him. But he's not the only one that's selling. I'm selling. I might sell 7,000. I mean, sell 700. But I'm selling, right? But it's not just us. We got a bunch of independent black sci-fi writers, and we are writing stories that are different, in my opinion, than what I see major publishers publishing. Okay, now we do write fantasy. Milton definitely does, and a few other people write fantasy, but I don't see the publishers seeking to publish an urban approach to black sci-fi, like a Killmonger type character in a Black Panther world, futuristic black with a Wakanda. Ain't nobody got no Wakanda in none of those books that I mentioned. You know what I'm saying? There ain't even a white world in Children of Blood and Bone. So it's apolitical, right? I don't know what the characters. I didn't finish the Benti series with oh gosh, it's not Tomei. That's the writer of Children of Blood and Bone. I can't remember her name, but anyway, of Benti, right? I don't know if those black people take over the universe or threaten to take it over or have the power to take it over. So in my opinion, yeah, it's a difference still, and I'm still pushing for what I see in film, and I like the black sci-fi that I've seen in film. Michael B. Jordan's characters, Ken, they're black aliens. Holy moly. Where is that? You know, with technology is more advanced than what you see here on Earth. That is on some Zorro, that Tale of Alien Avengers type stuff. I don't see that coming out of the major publishers. So that's one that's a difference that I recognize. And I think that's, if anywhere we have to go, that's a direction that we need to expand in terms of things that we have to do. So anyway, that's my real cheesy report. Sounds like more venting than it did reporting. I'm a biased person, so even my reports have a taint of who I am. But that's probably why you tune in. So here's my longest video blog ever. Having an 8 minutes overtime. It'll never happen again. Ha! Don't bet on it. All right, thank you, y'all, for tuning in.